And there we are. So my friend's Lou Morton here, and I have connected with this spiritual light worker of a very high order, and she's good enough to come on and chat with me. So I'm saying hello to my new friend, Henna Maria. Hi, Henna.
Hello, Lou. I'm so happy to be a part of this wonderful stream with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Stream of consciousness. Yes, we'll all get in the water and splash around together today. Well, great. So Henna, let me give you a space here so you can kind of tell people a little bit about your background, and I'm going to put this, tag you and things like that we were just talking about so your hubby can find us. So have at it.
Yeah. Okay, a little bit of my background. I actually started off in an academic kind of path. I studied English and psychology, and that took me to interpreting some peacekeeper trainings for UN and NATO. And it was interesting because as I was doing that work, I realized that I was like a middleman between the peacekeepers and then whoever they were having their meetings with. And I was not allowed to comment on what was being said. So I was actually in a position where I was witnessing people creating conflicts by bad communication and misunderstandings. And as an interpreter, you have to be totally neutral.
Right.
And I wasn't allowed to help them to create peace by correcting, wait a minute, when you said that, this person misunderstood you and now they think you're saying this. And so I was like in the middle of relaying conflicts, basically.
Right.
And that made me realize that this job is not for me. Because I want to be the one who's saying, look, let's find ways to create peace. Yes. And as an interpreter, I was totally neutral.
Right.
So I said, I can't do this work. And so I left that whole scene and I moved to London. And actually, that's where I met my husband. And then he took me to South America.
Oh, okay.
And I just started my whole life again, basically. We met some indigenous healers and teachers over here. And this like really strong inspiration was born in me to really understand the fundamentals of life from their perspective, which was far more holistic, far more grounded, far more spiritual than what I had come to learn. So then we started learning the indigenous healing arts here in Peru.
Right. So
we do that.
Were you in Peru first after London and meeting Richard?
Yeah, we came to Peru. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we went to Ecuador as well. We worked with the Shuar tribe there.
Okay.
But the Shuar actually turned out to be a bit too warrior-like tribe for me.
Okay.
The way that they worked was very, very like embodied in the kind of fire element and very, just warrior-like. And so we were like, okay, maybe we don't resonate so much with their way of teaching the healing arts. So then we met the Shipibo in Peru.
That's a familiar name, yeah.
Yeah, and they are all about healing with song. And when we went to their first ceremonies, and I got to experience personally what a song can do when it's channeled, when it is medicine, my whole world was just blown wide open, and I knew this is the art that I want to learn.
Right.
And so we started learning with the Shipibo, and we did that since 2014, and then it was last year that I felt called to kind of take what I've learned in the healing arts to a more of a public arena. And I wanted to start the Dawn of Peace, which is what I call like a spiritual a peace organization and activism. So combining that ancient knowledge, the indigenous wisdom, with human rights, animal rights, medical freedom. And so that's kind of the two things I'm working on, the healing arts and then the activism in a spiritual context.
Right, right. Well, bless your heart, my friend. You are on fire, as far as I can tell about all of those things. Can you tell us a little bit about your growing up years and how justice and these themes became so lit up for you, such a source of passion and strength?
I don't know.
Okay.
I was always a very inquisitive child.
I bet you were.
And that was not encouraged, unfortunately, where I grew up,
right.
in my school, in my family.
Right. They said she's trouble. Look out for her. Big trouble. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember getting in trouble with the teachers in school because I was questioning what they were teaching. And I just got this strong sense that my voice was not appreciated. My thoughts, my questions were not appreciated. And that was just fueling me more to find out what was actually going on. There was this inherent injustice that I was experiencing ever since I was a child. And it was definitely to do with my throat chakra. I felt I wasn't allowed to express myself as I am, really, and to communicate with people authentically,
Right. Yeah, well, now you're ringing my bell. I have to tell you, as a spiritual counselor and a channel here for going on 30 years, most of my clients have been women, and most of the women clients that I've worked with have had, of course, issues about their throat chakra and not feeling safe enough, strong enough, free enough to express themselves. So I have to tell you, that was one of the things that attracted me to connect with you immediately, is here's a woman who's in her power and has found her voice. And I'm like, I want to hang out with this one. Thank you.
It's been a lot of work, I tell you.
Sure.
I did have a massive blockage there, and I was always afraid of the consequences of, asking the wrong questions or triggering,
Sure.
And I've always been a kind of a truth teller. And
yes, I can see that. Yes.
That's something that I've had to learn also, how to balance that, how to communicate. Things, not to so it doesn't come from a place of ego or judgment, but to build a bridge. That's something I've been learning a lot, how to build bridges with truth.
Right. Beautiful. One of the quotes, another quote from the guides that I channel, is they say to all of us, build a bridge and get over yourself. So this is what we're all learning to do, myself included. But that's great, because you're just such a peacemaker and a troublemaker at the same time. So I'd say that's a good combination. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say, part of my where I've gotten this fire from as well is, experiences of trauma.
Sure.
Because I feel that, those of us who have experienced pain personally, it is an opportunity. That breaking, is an opportunity for a whole new growth.
Sure.
And I was resisting it, for a while. My first partner, actually, he took his own life.
Wow, I'm sorry.
When I was young. And that broke me into pieces, to the point of, me being suicidal. I was losing all hope.
Oh, and how old were you? How old were you when that happened, honey?
I was 20.
Wow. Yeah.
I was 20, yeah. And when that happened, it was what really pushed me to seek something higher than myself.
Yeah.
Because nothing was helping me out. No therapy, no human support. It was it was helping me stay alive, but it wasn't helping me to heal in a way that I needed to heal, on a soul level.
Sure.
So that was what really pushed me to look for a higher power.
Yes.
To really find that solace, that comfort.
Yes. Well, can I share with you, my father was murdered when I was 17. So that was my,
oh my God.
Well, there you go. See, I mean, we all get into this club in our own way, passionate truth tellers and people who are willing to think outside the box, because there aren't enough answers in the box to heal the pain and the fear and what have you that we're all moving through. So trauma is, very common. So how were you able to overcome that or integrate that and to heal some of that?
Yeah. So it started with music. I remember when it first, when I was at the very worst state, I was so broken that my mother actually had to feed me. I couldn't do anything. I felt like I was already dead. That's how bad it was. But I had my piano, and I couldn't express myself in any other way than playing the piano. And I remember I would sit on the piano, and everyone in my family, because I came back to live with my mother at that point. Everyone else would go to their rooms and give me the living room, and I would sit there for hours just playing the piano.
Yes.
And it was in that moment, in the melody, in between the tonality, that I began to feel something else coming through. There were times where I felt literally physical warmth, like I was being held. It was so miraculous what was happening through the music.
Right.
That was my first medicine, was definitely the music from the piano.
Beautiful. It's so precious to me as well, my friend. I have to share with you. I mean, I grew up with the Beatles music. I'm 63 this year, and so I actually got left back a grade because I could not stop humming their songs. My teacher would say, "Is somebody singing in here?" And want to hold your hand, and they just thought, this kid's, he's so that's how into music. It's been like that my whole life. I'm mad for music, as you are, and it's magical. Music is absolutely transcendent. It takes you right out of your body and out of time and space.
Absolutely, yeah. So that was my first medicine. The second medicine was joy, that I found through my friends who were starting up an improvisational theater group.
Oh, great.
And when they asked me to join, I'd always been, part of the drama groups in our school. And I thought, okay, well, this is a chance for me to really learn to make mistakes and love myself.
Yes.
Because in improv, there is no script. And you just throw yourself into the moment and you play. It was like I discovered my inner child through that play, through the improv.
Right.
So then, we started doing gigs, and we had our own comedy night in this wonderful theater in Finland. And that was giving me so much life force through that joy, through the laughter, through the play.
Right.
And
Well, I had the same experience. This is getting crazy now. I grew up doing theater from the ages of 13 to 21. And we did great improv in our high school. They would bring the whole school in front of us, and we would just improv all day long, and people just loved it. So that was a great liberation for me as well, doing theater. So
this is so liberating. It really is. And that's what took me to London. Was actually I wanted to pursue my theater calling. That's why I moved to London. I started studying ballet, and I was in part of this actor center in Covent Garden, and I had my mentor, and I was preparing for a life in theater.
Yes.
But then life had other plans for me, and that's when I met Richie.
Okay.
And then he had just come back from the Amazon.
Right.
And he told me, that his whole world has just shifted, and it's such wisdom and such knowledge that is there in the indigenous people. And of course, I shared with him my trauma from my first partner passing.
Yeah.
And it was interesting whenever we talked about the ceremonial healing that he had experienced in Peru.
Yes.
I started feeling like, okay, that there is still a huge hole in me, a huge part of me that I have not been able to touch. The music and the improv was helping me, lift, but that there was something so much more. And so that's what then took me to say, okay, let's see what I can discover of myself, what I could heal with the help of this indigenous medicine. And then we went to Peru, and after we were there, I think 2.5 weeks in this healing center.
Right.
And I said to my husband, I said, I want to learn this. I want to learn this healing art. It was, honestly, I thought there were parts of me that could never heal, like the trauma of of my first partner's passing, I'd grown to believe that, you know, when a loved one takes their own life, it is a pain that you can never fully heal.
Yes.
That was my belief.
Yes.
But after those incredible soul level healing experiences that I had, for the first time, I actually felt that it is possible to heal everything, everything.
Right.
And it was not a story I had ever heard anywhere.
Right.
You know,
right.
I don't ever met victims who
Right.
are lifetime victims of traumas. And I came to see, wow, no, it is possible to liberate yourself completely.
Yes.
When
yes.
you go deep enough, you know?
Yes. Well, again, my friend, you're just, I'm just bursting into joy over here, hearing everything you have to say. I mean, I believe that too. You know, but it is the uncharted territory, because, as you say, there are so how do you feel like, how have you had that experience? Let me ask it that way.
Like what led me to those healing experiences?
What's like when you're talking about resolving the grief of the death of your partner, and of course you and I know that you know, grief, anger, and sorrow, you know, that gets disowned and denied and you know, stuffed inside of us, all of us, because it's not expressed, it's not resolved. That builds up to this crescendo and creates a healing crisis, which is what we're having on the whole planet right now, planetary healing crisis. So can you talk about how you learned to resolve some of that pain and that trauma?
It was really through connection with that higher power.
Yes.
So in those healing ceremonies, what happens is these indigenous healers, they sing for your soul.
Okay.
And through that resonance, through that vibration, I was allowing myself to go into such a vulnerable state.
Yes.
It was like all of my masks were taken away. And I was able to go into that raw, you know, wound itself, and just receive love into that place. Really just receive the love. And I was able to understand how life doesn't end when you die. Like I was just starting to receive these, you know, channelings that were such like profound confirmation to me.
Yes,
you know,
yes,
that there is nothing to worry about. You know, you are here to learn to love, to forgive, and to forgive yourself. You know, one of the biggest things that I was suffering with was guilt.
Sure.
You know, I was. This is, of course, a common defense mechanism that we develop as a child. You know, that we take things onto ourselves, and to try and make sense of a traumatic situation, we tend to alleviate it by, you know, attributing some of that responsibility onto ourselves and say, it must have been me. I must have been, you know, I must have been responsible for this. It must have been my fault. To somehow try and make sense of it, you know?
Sure. Or why isn't it me? Why did this person die and I didn't die? What is it?
Yeah. All sorts of dynamics. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I was able to, you know, really come to that grace of understanding that there is nothing I could have done differently. You know, like I was really being given that knowledge that our lives, we can never save anyone. We can only love them. And it's up to them if they fall into that place that, you know, such deep desperation that they would take their own life. We can't take that as a soul burden and blame it on ourselves, you know? So I was able to liberate a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, you know, a lot of anger, and just own those feelings of vulnerability, you know?
Sure. Bless you. Well, sweetheart, you're just my hero over here. I'm just blown away by your beautiful total vulnerability and your courageous commitment, you know, I mean, this is the whole story, of course, of being the wounded healer, which, like we're saying, you know, everyone who really opens their heart to God to heal their pain and wants to transcend the illusions of the world and find the truth, you know, we all have to go through some level of the dark night of the soul and our own little death, as you're saying.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because, you know, when we're talking about healing the soul, healing the heart, healing, you know, your energy body, it's not some theory that you learn in a book. You have to learn it on a cellular level.
Yes.
You have to have gone through it to understand that alchemical process of, first of all, being blown wide open, you know, with that pain of being like cracked open, all your masks being taken away, and then letting that love, to receive that love. Because what I've learned is that many of us do not struggle giving love, but a lot of us struggle receiving love.
That's the secret sauce right there, boys and girls. Yes, that's where everyone's deepest pain comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we want to love others so that it escapes our own self-doubts and issues of unworthiness and judgment and guilt, shame, blame game, my guides call it. But the real magic happens when we start caring about and for ourselves the way we want to be loved and the way we weren't loved for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's it. And I remember, you know, in that first healing retreat I did, when I was, you know, basically just being guided that you're not a victim, you know, you can choose to heal these things. You can choose how you respond to these painful things that happen to you.
Yes.
You know, you can choose to grow from it. And then when that channeling came through, I was just like shivering in a ball because I felt like somebody had taken away my comfort blanket, which was that victimhood.
Right.
You know, like I had somehow been comforting myself with that thought of, you know, why me? Such horrible things happened to me. And when I wasn't allowed to hold on to that blanket anymore, I was asked to really, truly begin to empower myself and to take, you know, my position, my role in my life as an active, conscious creator rather than a victim of circumstance. And it was a tough spiritual transformation that was going through. And it took me a lot of practice every day to learn how to truly embody that responsibility, you know?
Well, again, darling, I salute you because I have to confess, I still struggle with all that, you know, from time to time, because these are, you know, and it's, again, Henna, it's why I'm so thrilled to connect with you and hear your story and learn through your experiences, you know, because this is, to me, this is the cutting edge of where humanity is, you know, is being asked to go, is to heal these beliefs and illusions of separation and victimhood, and to take our power back, especially to support the women in finding their voices and taking their power back. Because, you know, in my experience, 90% of the people on the spiritual path that I've ever met have all been women. And so women are, you know, well up the mountain compared to most of the men in the world right now. And, you know, here's to you, and God bless you, and thank God for you. Thank God got us all that is for you. Let me just say, I've just managed to, oh, it's my pleasure, darling, bless you. I've just managed to put the link onto your Facebook page, believe it or not. Yes, and we have 32 people on with us, which is wonderful, through my page and through the Lou Martin Spiritual Channel page. So I just want to take a moment here and say, look, folks, this is your chance here. We got a lot of love and light and wisdom pouring forth through this beautiful lady. If you have a question or a comment, please feel free to put it there, and I'll just give you, C says, you're my hero too. So there you go. Yeah. There's Star Hall wants to say hi, sweetie. So that's all I have. Hi. So you're all very welcome to throw your questions and comments here. So
yeah. So I really resonate with you that is where we are collectively as well. You know, I see a lot of this need to seek for acceptance and approval from those who we perceive to be more worthy than us. Or, you know, it's like that parent-child dynamic. That when we grow in families where we may not have been able to receive as much support and unconditional love as we would have needed, for one reason or another, it's like that leaves this kind of emotional hole to many of us, where we are continuously seeking for that which, we weren't maybe able to receive in its fullness in our childhood.
Yes.
From our partner or from, our colleagues or society, government, the doctor, you name it.
Sure. Yes, that's right, hon. Let me go back to your beautiful healing story there. What I want to really acknowledge, both you and your lovely husband there that I just got to meet for a moment, is you both had the courage to follow your hearts. And you both were in London and in the world, and had taken what the world had to offer, and you're going, no, this isn't enough, this isn't it. Who else has an idea here on the planet? And so off you go with the backpacks and the shots and all the rest of it to Peru, and you're living at 3,000 feet. So I mean, we can talk about altitude sickness at some point if you like, but you put yourself, bless you, and Richard as well, put yourselves in that space where you would let the indigenous elders and healers work with you and work on you. And you said the magic word, Henna, which is to be vulnerable, which is, here's my pain, here's my heartbreak, here's my grief, help me. I can't do this alone. I can't do it. And isn't that that's the magical thing, that all of us healers want to hold that space for people to be willing to love themselves enough to ask for that help and to be vulnerable, to earn their trust and help them to do that.
Absolutely. That is the first requirement and first step, is to acknowledge that we are worthy and we are, lovable enough to receive help. I remember when I got my first ever song in this healing ceremony from an indigenous elder, and the
Shipibo, you said?
Shipibo, yeah. We're in the Amazon rainforest, and I'm sitting in this very dark maloka. It's called a maloka. It's a circular healing temple.
Okay.
I'm sitting in front of him. It's pitch black dark, and he begins to sing for me.
Right.
And makes me emotional. Well, remembering that. But
yes, good.
I remember just feeling in every part of my cell.
Yes.
He is here for me.
That's right. He cares for you.
Singing to me, a man that I don't know. Yeah. He has so much unconditional love for us broken people.
Yes,
that he's singing from the bottom of his heart. And I remember in the end of the song, he put his hand on my heart.
Right.
And that was probably the most vulnerable that I've ever felt. And I was receiving that. I was beginning to understand that I am worthy of that love.
Yes. Well, you let it in because you were courageous and you were willing to be vulnerable, and you felt that love and support, sweetheart. And honestly, it moves all of us that it still brings you to tears, because, I mean, the quote from my guide is, you don't get finished, you get better. But some levels of better can feel like finished, and can feel like you've turned the corner, you've gone in your own journey, my dear friend, from victim to helper, from being wounded and feeling hopeless and helpless and life is over and desperate and all of that, to like, no, I know how to do this now, and I know how to help people do this now, and by God, I'm going to do it. Yeah,
totally. And I remember, in that healing retreat, I was talking to some of the facilitators, who are helping to translate between the indigenous people and us, who are coming from other countries. And I was saying, I don't know what to do. My whole life, I said that the vision that I had in one of those healing sessions was, it's funny because it's very mechanical, and I'm not really a mechanical person, but this is the metaphor that came through. Okay. So I had a vision that I was like a car, and I realized that my whole life I'd been putting in the wrong fuel.
Right. Yeah.
And the wrong feel was, self-hatred on some level, or
Sure.
lack of self-love.
Sure.
And that the message I got was, you only have one car, one body,
Right.
and one engine, your heart.
Right.
You can't change the engine. What you have to do is you have to go in and you have to clean away that wrong fuel, every last bit of it. And then you have to change the fuel. You can no longer put diesel in a petrol engine. You can no longer put self-hatred into a sacred heart.
Yes.
You have to change it into love.
Yes.
And then I was like, okay, I'll do that. How do I do that?
Right. Okay.
And it was such an epiphany, like,
oh God, yes.
Yeah, I've been doing it wrong my whole life, like loving myself.
Yes. Well, God bless you, sweetheart. You are just a joy, I mean, yeah, you're singing and sharing so deeply and so wonderfully. Thank you. These are the things that I've learned over the last 33 years in my journey. I had a spiritual awakening in meditation. That was what changed my consciousness. This Kundalini awakening. But, then it is like the car metaphor. It's like, okay, here's your new car, Lou. There is a spirit that loves you, and you can learn how to access that. Now, how do you live in the world with that is the challenge. How do you live with that? How do you integrate that? How do you share that with people? So I just want to all of that.
I got to say, one of the first things that I learned in like how to practice that, it's so kind of easy to say, just love yourself. It's like, okay, but what does it mean in practicality to love yourself,
Oh, yes.
So I learned one of the most powerful words to learn to love yourself is to learn when to say no.
That's
because sometimes when you say no, you're saying actually yes to yourself.
That's right. That's
learning how to put boundaries. That's one of the, real concrete ways to learn how to love yourself, how to respect your energy, how to respect your time. At least for me, it was true that I was always trying to please everyone.
Sure.
And saying yes to everything, even if it means that I was absolutely draining myself and I wasn't giving myself, that fuel, that self-loving fuel and self-care. So that was one of the things I started practicing is, can I actually say no to people and still be loved?
Yes. That's right. Well, I'm happy you're saying that. I mean, this is what we all need to get better at in this world, because, like we're saying, we do grow up in a very addictive, codependent, mental society where we're always talking ourselves out of our emotional truth, basically. And so, my guides say you have to say no to what you don't want on some level, in some way, in order for your yes to mean anything.
Yeah.
If we're saying yes to everything, yes doesn't really mean anything,
That's it. Yeah. Embodying with integrity your word.
That's the secret word. Integrity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That is something. And I feel like this time in society, in the global community, it is actually asking us that. When do we say yes and when do we say no? What some of the measures that are happening now.
That's right.
That are driving us so far away from each other.
Sure.
And we're being told a story that this is the new normal now, that we have to fear each other and that we can't have any faith in our immune systems and we can't get closer to somebody. You can't hug them. You can't touch them,
Right.
This is actually asking us, are we going to say yes to that? Is that really the new normal?
Well, you and I know the answer to that question, my friend. Hell no. Yeah. But it's right. It's true. God, honey, there's just so many places to take this conversation. It's just a joy. I mean, you said this was your message, the harsh truth and why people don't want to hear it in your video, which has been seen like by 50,000 people, which I'm like, wow, who's this? Talking about
spreading like wildflowers.
Yes, well, I think Richard and you are doing a fantastic job together. You're bringing the magic, and he's spreading the word. So it's so wonderful. So talk more about that, of what your sense is of how we take our power back in the midst of the virus and the pandemic and all this madness.
Yeah, I think first thing is to know who you are. It's to begin to embody who you really are. And I'm not talking about just flesh and bones with a personality, but that you are a light being with creator consciousness, and that every single one of us is responsible in this co-creation. So it really is calling us, to step into that personal, individual responsibility of being a co-creator in this wonderful human family.
Yes.
And really to understand that there is no justification actually for external authority in humanity.
Right. Yeah.
But we bought this story where there are these experts or, politicians or whatever you want to call them, who are claiming to have the right to rule us.
Right.
But this is not who we are. We are not cattle. We're sovereign beings.
Yes.
And our rights come from the creator of this universe. They do not come from a paper, and they cannot be nullified in a court of law. This is something that is immutable and eternal, and it's our birthright. And I really think that's where you need to go, like straight away.
Well, yes. Again, sweetheart, you are just bringing Joan of Arc right to the table here, my friend. This is what it's all really about to my heart, because it is, why, I mean, this is what you said in your video as well, why people lie to themselves, or perhaps better said, why we let ourselves be lied to by people that we can tell do not have our best interests at heart, or the official story makes no bloody sense if you examine it for half an hour. Or vaccines are not the answer to every problem on this planet, etc. So the more honest that we have been able to be in our own hearts and with ourselves, the less we are able to be lied to, and the more savvy and discerning we become, and going, no, that doesn't make sense. What you just said makes no sense to me. Or it's breathtaking.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason why it's scary to look at this is because admitting that there's something terribly wrong in this entire scenario would actually mean that we would then have to begin to take responsibility.
Spiritual adulthood.
Yeah. We would have to step into our adulthood and say, well, let's start from health. Who is responsible for health?
Sure.
Me. I'm responsible for my health. It is not the responsibility of the state.
Right.
So it's a scary dynamic for many to say, all right, well, maybe I have to change my diet. Is my immune system really weak because I am subconsciously abusing myself in the form of junk food, for example?
Excuse me. Yes. Or 1,000 other things that are part of our modern life that are breaking us down, wearing us out, confusing us, distracting us, poisoning us, weakening our systems. Have you listened to Judy Mikovits, the lady who wrote? Yes,
I have. Yeah,
she's another
powerhouse.
Yeah, she's a powerhouse, exactly. And when she said that the COVID is happening because of the vaccines, and it was the same thing with AIDS 20 years ago, and Anthony Fauci's in the middle of both these messy stories. It's like, oh, really? Well, and Bill Gates has had a few problems in India. They don't want to see him ever again. That's interesting. Okay, so it is coming out. Thank goodness.
It is coming out, and I feel that for many people also they're sensing there's something wrong, but they are terrified to begin to ask questions because they're worried that their friends or loved ones would abandon them or judge them for speaking the truth. So I feel a lot of people are they're observing what's happening. They're witnessing something's terribly wrong. None of it makes sense. But gosh, it's again, that same dynamic. Do I love myself enough to allow myself to be me? Or am I trying to please people? And then what is the price of doing that? At what point do we betray ourselves actually?
Well, that's
by
exactly
not speaking the truth of our experience, and not sharing our authentic thought, because guess what? Every single one of us has that potential to be able to see truth and to be able to dig and connect the dots. And, we're not stupid. I think what is causing us to behave in stupid ways is fear.
Sure.
Fear lowers your, consciousness. It contracts you into that reptilian fight or flight, and it prevents you from being able to look at the world from that creative, broader image.
Yes.
So I think if we just like face the fear,
exactly,
we can become a lot more intelligent as a species.
Oh my yes. Oh my yes. Let me tell you the way my guides put it. You're nailing it as usual, my friend. They say face your fears, as you just said, feel your feelings, and find your freedom. And the other quote is, they say, no one can take your power from you. You can only give it away. And no one will give you your freedom. You have to take it because it's yours. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I 100% resonate with that. That is divine wisdom coming through right there.
Thank you, dear.
Absolutely.
Your heart. You're making my day. Thank you.
And that feeling your feelings, I really want to touch on that because, I've met in my journey a lot of people who have a spiritual calling, but I think they're misinterpreting some of the messages that are in sacred scripture or some of the channelings that are coming through to judge that when we have a feeling that feels uncomfortable or painful, we shouldn't allow that.
Right.
There is this fear in many people to truly feel their feelings. And that is actually causing us to run away in our lives. And we become enslaved by those things if we don't face them, if we don't feel the feelings that are authentically rising.
Sure. That's right. That's exactly right. I'm just rushing in to agree with you, my friend. Don't let me interrupt. Carry on.
Yeah. So like fear is one of them. I feel, fear is a signaling to saying something is wrong. You need to stop and look at it.
That's right.
But if we don't stop and look at it, we become afraid of the fear.
Yes.
And then we're enslaved by the fear.
Right.
Then we are running away indefinitely until we stop and say, okay, what is the fear telling me right now? Why am I feeling this discomfort? Is it coming from the outside? Is it something that's being implanted into me with these, sensational doom porn stories that is being spewed out like every single outlet?
Fear.
Here's your half an hour of fear, how do you feel afterwards? A little joke in the end, as they like to do. But it's like, is it coming? Is it a illusory fear? And if it is, one way to check it is, okay, let me look into these news. Is there any veracity? Is there any validity? And when you come to see that a lot of it is just fraud, it can give you a lot of peace of mind to say, okay, so I don't have to be afraid to walk outside. There isn't some like crazy plague that's just gonna like kill me in the spot. But
strike you
okay,
dead.
but there's something else I'm feeling. I'm feeling an unease because of this worldwide deception. Okay, that is a valid feeling.
Sure.
What can you do about that? Well, maybe I should seek others who are seeing the same picture, and together we can begin to think about solutions.
Yes, we're having, the tribe is gathered here right now. It's joyous. Believe me, I'm just so thrilled to hear all this. There are like 46 people on here, and I love this comment. Terry Lynn says, "Are you inside my head right now, or what?" That's Terry. Yeah,
it's the morphic resonance. I don't know about you, Lou, but I've been feeling lately, the last couple of days, a real surge in the collective consciousness. A lot more light is coming through, a lot more courage. People are seeing people really beginning to like own themselves and beginning to speak up.
Yes, that's right. I feel that too, honey. Yes, absolutely, 100%. And it's guys, if something doesn't feel right, it's wrong. And this is the simple truth of it. And if you, as you're saying, if you look at something long enough, your inner guidance will start to tell you about it, or if you sit with it long enough, your inner guidance will start to bring you more information about it. It's do you meditate?
I do prayer. So
okay, I do prayer as well.
That's my way of meditating. I sing a lot every day, and they're like songs of prayer, and it's it's a meditation.
Good. You see my guitar in the corner? That's my meditation, which I don't do often enough, but we can rock out sometime. But I love what we're saying, Henna, that It's about focus, right? This is what's coming through for me right now. And, so people are gathered here because you've put a message out. I put a message out, people are picking up on these messages like, okay, that makes sense. That feels right. I understand that, etc. And like all of us together are putting all the pieces of the puzzle together and going, look, folks, this is what's happening. This is what we can do about it. What are we going to do about it? And this is why I was asking about meditation, prayer, and keeping a journal. Those are the three things that my guides say, every day. So you have a connection with your inner self, so you can hear the truth when it actually rises up inside you. The other quote my guides say is, "Go into peace as often and as deeply as possible." And then and by praying and singing, you're becoming that clear and open channel. Then you know what the truth feels like. Then you know what happiness, joy, courage, love feels like. And then when something comes along in your field that's, you go, whoa, wait a minute, that's not my vibration. And this is what I really feel is happening on the planet. There is this polarization. My guides call it the clash of the paradigms. And there are these two belief systems that are now unraveling at the same time.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's a message I get as well, is that we have to make space and time for those messages to come through. Because, that realm, that invisible heavenly grace, it comes through subtleties. Well, sometimes it will like crash us into a moment and we'll be like, whoa, what was that? But oftentimes what is required is of us to do half of the work and meet them halfway by giving them that space to come through, for that guidance to come through. Yeah. And also what I want to just put out there is that there's this narrative that
that was perfect.
That you need to have some letters after your name to be able to speak up. Like, oh, if you don't have a PhD or MD or whatever it is, you're not qualified to think, And what I've been saying is that truth is for all to discover for free. It does not require an academic career or, we have that, like you're saying, inside us. We have that compass. We have that infinite source of wisdom.
Yes.
If we just begin to listen to it and make space for it, to feel it and to trust it, most of all, because for many of us, the voice is there, but it's become very, very quiet. Yes. Because we are always dismissing it. We're always saying, no, it's saying, yeah, do that. That's the right thing. No. And we begin to speculate and, dismiss that voice. And so it gets ever quieter.
Sure. Yeah, my guides say we talk ourselves out of the truth, not into the truth. The truth is the truth. It's there and it's obvious. But we go, no, that's inconvenient. That's awkward. I want to people please. I want to get a yes here, etc., whatever it might be. But as you say, the price of that, and I'm sure everyone can relate to this, is our flame gets dimmer and dimmer inside of us. Whereas when you're passionate and you're in your truth and your power, and you treat others the way you want to be treated, and you take joyous responsibility for your life as a spiritual adult, which are all great challenges, but that's the ideal. That's what we're steering towards. That's the star we try to steer by. Then even if you fail, even if it's not perfect, even if you don't get what you think you're asking for, you are better served by moving in that direction because you're heading in the right direction. And whatever is in the way or distracting you will move out of the way, because focus is how we create our reality, simply put.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's you explain it in such a rich and wonderful way. I totally resonate with you. We are really being called to learn to do that, how to take responsibility. Yes. And what was I going to say about the inner listening is if we do listen to it, it will get stronger all the time, up until it'll be so strong that there is no other option than to listen to that guidance, because you've come to trust it so much, because you've come to see that every time you listen to that voice, it is true.
Yes. That's only always is my quote about that. Only all the time, as you're saying. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And let me just say, because again, honey, I got to tell you, this is one of the best conversations of this lifetime for me. I want you to know how special this is to me here with you.
But we have a great resonance, Lou. Thank you so much. I feel like we're from the same tribe.
out, sister. We are in the same family of light. I'm so happy to reconnect with you. Bless you. My guides say trust is everything. And who you trust, what you trust, and how deeply you trust them, that is the measurement of how you create your reality. And so, like in a healing crisis, in this kind of a crisis, as you said about the inescapable gift of personal responsibility for every one of us about, am I healthy enough? Am I financially stable right now? Am I able to take care of my duties and obligations and responsibilities and myself, etc.? All of those deep questions. So we're still, everyone knows here, we're still a little boat on a huge rocky, stormy sea right now, because the future has never been so uncertain as it is right now. But within this, as the I Ching says, within this crisis is chaos and opportunity, danger and opportunity. So we're saying here, darling, the opportunity is, look, we're just going to, Henna and myself and Richard and everyone who's mad for what we've experienced, we're just going to shout it from the rooftops. Look, folks, this is the way forward. And if we get a few people in the boat here with us, more's the better. It's just thrilling.
Yeah, it is happening, It's such a relief to come to feel that you are responsible, because it also means that then you have some possibility to influence your own life. If we're stuck in that state of, victimhood, believing that we are just victims of the circumstances always, life is very painful. It's infinite suffering because we feel powerless to everything that's happening.
Yes.
But if we say, okay, I'm not in a place of victimhood, I want to respond to this.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
It puts an entire different dynamic into it, because you're saying, if I take responsibility, then it means that I also have some power in my life.
Exactly.
I have some influence into my reality.
That's right. That's right. Sorry, what was the last one?
And that I have some influence into what is actually happening, into my surroundings, into my contacts, into my connections, my relationships.
That's right. Here's the way my guides put it through me. They say, you're only responsible for what you understand. But once you understand something, you become responsible for it. And the degree to which you take responsibility about it is your degree of understanding of it.
Yeah. Wow. That's bang on. Yeah, absolutely.
I've tried to argue with it. I haven't managed.
This is what a natural law, when you go into understanding the esoteric teachings of the Hermetic principles of reality and morality, which is time, of course, because natural law is about understanding the micro and the macrocosmos, and also the realm of our consciousness. The moral culpability comes into place once we have knowledge about something.
That's right.
But if we are completely nascent, nascent meaning genuinely not knowing.
Yes.
It's different from ignorant, because ignorant means that you are consciously choosing not to look at the information that is right there. Right. It's very important to know the difference between the two. So there are actually a lot of people that are nascent. They do not know what is happening. Right. So they're doing their best, following the information that is presented to them, thinking and believing that it is the right thing to do.
That's right. That's right.
So, if we want to influence the collective consciousness and help everybody to take responsibility, because we are all co-creating together.
Yes.
Every single one of us is having an effect in the manifested reality.
Yes.
What we can do, those of us who can see, what is happening beyond the surface narrative, what is actually going on, beyond that media narrative of you're all going to die, this is horrific, doom, doom, doom.
Fear.
That those of us to approach those people who are nascent to the actual reality of things with compassion and with inspiration, trying to say, look, okay, I know you're thinking this way because it makes sense you're thinking this way, because the only source of information you're receiving is, the British brainwashing corporate, or, whatever it is that you get your news from. But look, there are other voices out there. Would you be interested to hear, for example, what Dr. Rashid Buttar or Judy Mikovits or Stephanie Seneff or Thomas Cowan? These are all also experts. They also have that letter behind their name. Why don't you check out what they're also saying?
Sure.
to broaden your horizons.
Yes. Well, again, just juicy stuff you're throwing down here, my friend. I mean, I think all I want to add to what you said so beautifully there is that, like this woman's asking here about walking away from a job that isn't good for your soul, etc. So, what I want to just underline here that we're talking about here is fear versus love, or fear versus trust, or fear versus faith, or fear versus vulnerability. So as you're saying, the consensus reality belief message right now is that there's this deadly thing, that we have to protect ourselves from it, that we don't know where it came from, that we don't know how to make people healthy, that people are dropping like flies. There's no end in sight. It's like living in a science fiction movie. We're still in the first act, and everything's hopeless and nothing works. And everyone's being bombarded by the death ray or whatever. War of the Worlds. But
it's horrible.
Yes, it's crazy. Let's turn the channel, everyone. Yeah. So the thing is, fear is I love the acronym false evidence appearing real, or fuck everything and run, however you want to look at it, right? But it's not that those things aren't possible. It's that the lower vibration of our fear is telling us this is not who I am. You see, and you said another magic word for me again, thank you, which is inspiration. And to me, honestly, that is my reason to be. It's to give and receive inspiration. And the way thank you, yes. So the way my guides have put it to me is, they say there's information, there's inspiration, and there's transformation. And so if we just, as you were talking about innocence and ignorance, as we just stay stuck in information, we don't get to that next step of rising above the problem, being the eagle above the forest fire, whatever, and going, what is the bigger picture of this? Let me see this differently. So inspiration is the voice of our spirit, is the way my guides say it. And when we're praying and meditating and singing and having a great old time like we are here today, thank you, God, then we're inspired, and spirit is going, I'm sending more to you. You know what you're doing. Here it comes. Here you go. So we're all lit up like a Christmas tree, which is such a joy. And then when we trust our inspiration, and we have the courage of our convictions, and we take responsibility for our decisions, then we are in the vibration of transformation. And it doesn't mean the fears aren't there or they're not real. This is where the ego gets so petrified and upset. You're telling me this isn't important. Great. Have your fears and your perceptions, but they're not the only way to respond to what's happening. And like we're saying, the deepest way to respond to what's happening is as a spiritual being, having a human experience and saying, Spirit, I don't know the answer to this, but I'm going to drum and pray and meditate and fast and sing and dance until I get in that state of consciousness where I know there is a solution to this problem. And then the solution starts showing up.
Yeah, totally. What a channeling.
Thank you. I'm singing to the choir. I'm preaching.
Having to begin to describe the resonance I feel with your words, it's uncanny, the synchronicity, because I actually have a little note written here. Fear and inspiration cannot coexist. It's something I wanted to bring into this, because I always say that, inspiration is the in spiritus, being in spirit. It's the divine breath that comes in. Yes. And we all know that feeling when we're inspired. It is like a well, a spring of eternal life and joy that just bubbles through, and we can write a poem, nonstop. It's just coming through. Beauty is coming through. Harmony is coming through. Wisdom is coming through. We might get chords that we've never even learned just coming through. The music is coming through. We know that's where we're in a divine communion. And so people who are feeling the fear, I would really urge them and invite them to seek for those things that give them inspiration.
Yes.
What inspires them, and devote a part of their day always to something that inspires them, because I tell you, it will restore you. It will give you so much faith and joy. And it's just divine resonance, what you said about inspiration. It takes you to transformation. Absolutely. It's like a recipe, a divine recipe.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you and I know what we're talking about, sweetheart. It's such a pleasure and a joy to be so seen, you know, really. I'm used to being the only cowboy at the Indian party, you know.
Yeah.
But honestly, this is I was mentioning to you, my friend Patricia Coda-Robles, this teacher.
Yeah.
You are my friend, Henna. Yeah, and Patricia's a teacher, and how she's been such a great guide for all of this. So I just want to put that out there to people as well. Her great site, eraofpeace.org, is a good one to know about. And but yeah, will we kind of leave it here at the hour? I mean, you and I could go.
Yeah.
You know,
we could take some questions maybe. I just want to put out there as well a great resource for people who are questioning what is going on and are interested to see what other expert research is out there. Yes. I recommend you check out questioningcovid.com.
Okay.
It's a platform that has gathered together many different interviews and research, and there's activists and investigative journalists, doctors, scientists. Great. So great. I recommend to check that out. That can give you a lot more clarity into what is actually going on now.
Beautiful, beautiful. And let me also say londonreal.tv is where I've seen a lot of these interviews as well. This fellow American, Brian Rose, with David Icke and Judy Mikovits and Bobby Kennedy and Max Kaiser and all sorts of interesting people. Well, sweetheart, I am just loving you and adoring you and so grateful to you for this time together. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been really wonderful. Thank you so much. It's been a real gift.
Sure, my pleasure. How do people find you if they want more of what you have to offer?
Yeah, you can check out our organization, dawnofpeace.org.
Right.
You can also just find me on my Facebook, Henna Maria. And you can email me, henna@dawnofpeace.org.
Brilliant.
So I am really happy to connect with fellow activists and healers out there who have a mission to, help raise, the frequency and to create this beautiful awakening that we have this wonderful, fruitful ground for right now.
Don't we though? Don't we just? Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too, sweetheart. And can I just say that if people want to reach out to me, they can find me on Awakened Spirits Network on Facebook or on YouTube. And my homepage is Lightheart 2012 on Facebook. And let's do this again real soon, sweetie. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really, really beautiful. Thank you for the resonance. It's been wonderful.
Pleasure. Likewise. And to everyone who showed up here today, thanks so much for being a part of this cosmic moment of spiritual awakening for humanity. There just isn't another way to say it. It's happening, and you're part of the team. So thank you.
Thank you. Many blessings.
You're welcome. Peace and blessings, everyone. We'll leave it there. I'll talk to you soon. Henna, thanks again.